We finally have Touhou coming out to Grand Summoners Global. Now, if you never heard of Touhou, it is a beloved and, from what I understand, very popular in Japan. It's kind of somewhat popular outside of Japan, especially with some of the more recent releases in the Touhou franchise. One game that you guys may know of if you love like Metroidvanias and stuff is like Lunar Nights, which I think is actually getting a second game. So that's kind of like the gist of like who they are. They're from a video game, more so. And we are crossing over with the gacha game, which is, of course, made by Next Ninja. Hence the crossover. And tonight we are getting two of the characters from this game, which are known as Ramu and Marissa. So Ramu is a character that is able to give you a ton of additional support. You can see here on the true art, she's giving accuracy, she's giving arc gauge based on the number of human allies. She is type E though, which is a bit, sucky, but the good thing is that this is accuracy plus arts, which, accuracy, never a bad thing. Another thing is that her super art buffs up everybody's stats, and you give everybody a damage barrier, which directly benefits her skill, which allows her to get even more arts to herself if she is under the effects of a barrier. We also have her own art, which increases all allies' arts by 20 and reduces the enemy's attack and magic damage by 30%. The attack and magic damage being factored in, plus the damage barrier that we have on the super art, you're actually going to be relatively tanky against specifically magic damage fights. Not to mention as well, she does have a 5-star defense slot, which can make that barrier a whole lot better. Now, I don't think you're really going to be using her specifically for the barrier, and you're going to be using her more so for the support, but I really am liking what she is doing, especially since she's fire. Having an actual AoE barrier tank now, or not really a barrier tank, I would say, but just having like an actual pretty beefy AoE barrier that's not Demiurge is huge for Mono Fire. So her passive is that when she's above 80% HP, she increases her own arts by 2. If her battle music is playing, you increase your own arts by 1 per second. That is one thing about Touhou, is that they are known for their music, along with their crazy bullet hell shenanigans. But all these characters activate their music based on when you use, I think if I'm not mistaken, their super art. So yeah, for Mono Fire and just like general support, Raymu's actually really strong here, being able to give you that arc gauge, the accuracy, the attack, the magic damage down, plus you also get that stats up with the barrier. There's really not too much negative to say about her. She's going to be doing her job very well. Really the only issue that I see is just the type E arch shin. It's going to be very conflicting with other characters. That means that you can't use her alongside Sunraku, because Sunraku is also type E, so we'll have to see exactly how that plays out. Now the next character is actually Marissa. Now Marissa is, from what I remember, I think a straight damage dealer, but let me see if I am remembering correctly here. As you see, all magic slots really buffing up her attack to Kingdom Come. We have all of her stuff here, which is her true art, being able to increase her own damage against giant bosses by 200%, and this is stackable, by the way. We got magic res and light res on the art, and then the super art here, you can see it is a scaling super art. So current HP times 33, very strong stuff here, especially in Grand Crusade, where you constantly are scaling up your HP. This can make it to where Marissa is one of the hardest hitters in Grand Crusade. Another thing about her is that she has her own passive, which does give her 100% crit rate and super crit rate against giant bosses. Also, if you have her BGM playing, you get 30% more damage. And once you factor in that she's getting that constant 200% damage buff every time you use the true art, she has that 30% additional damage plus the super crit plus the crit rate on the passive. And then if you look at her true weapon also gives her an additional 30% damage passively, and then actively it gives her 50% magic damage along with a 50% attack buff. That is one thing about Marissa, is that she does not have a ratio passive, which would definitely help her out, especially with the amount of magic slots she has. She just is going to have very high base attack right out the gate. So having something like that would definitely have increased her damage even more, but 200% stackable. In theory, you could get this going forever. Now, the one thing that I kind of hate about Marissa is that she gets that arts by 1 on the true weapon. I would have much rather preferred her to get that be 100 arts at the start of the quest, or 200 arts or something like that. I think characters like this benefit so much from just having a huge jump start of arc gauge right out the gate, compared to having just overtime art shed, especially too with the skill. The skill is, in my opinion, very lackluster. I much rather would this been like just a huge burst of arts. It would have made her faster, made her feel better, and yeah. In terms of what she's going to be doing though, she's light human. You're able to run her on mono light. You run her with a bunch of different other characters that are going to be able to buff her up to Kingdom Come. So yeah, Marissa is going to be a crazy damage dealer. I guess with all that being said, it's now time for the verdict of this. You should absolutely summon on these two. I believe that these two units are insanely strong, especially Marissa. If you love Grand Crusade, I think this could be a all-star character for you. Ramu, I think, like I said, very cool, very strong unit. I think just overall a really good support character, especially for newer players. You know, you're going to be able to slot this unit in multiple different teams very easily. I wish she was something other than Type E. Type E is good, but it's just so diluted now. Like, you have all these crossover characters and they're giving you another Type E arch hitter. So for veteran players, it's going to be a bit harder to actually slot her in compared to, I would say, if you're newer and you don't have as many of these crossover arch gen types. Overall, though, these two units are very strong, and I don't think you should necessarily pity either one of them, but absolutely do a multi, do a multi, wait for your reset, do another multi, see if you get lucky and get one of them. I'm definitely going to be summoning for both of them. I'm hoping to get Marissa or Ramu. Personally, I think Marissa is going to benefit me a bit more. I'm going to be able to make a bit better of a team around her compared to Ramu. So we'll have to see what happens in the summon video, either coming out tomorrow or sometimes this weekend, because I will be having to work this weekend. But yeah, as soon as I can, I'll be having a summon video out for this unit. Either way though, thank you all so much for hanging out. It's been your boy P, and last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.